Jai Radha. Jai Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Tanasasiswad. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Devotees, welcome. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnupada Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastityade Shatarne Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pramanityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchkapaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Krishna Janmastami Mahotsava Ki Jai. Yes, so welcome everyone. And as we are building up step by step towards Sri Krishna Janmastami and Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, we're trying to get our focus really in nicely by discussing the beauty and sweetness of Lord Krishna. So we will read another 2 or 3 verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 21. The Lord is instructing Sanatan Goswami. So this is now, we'll begin with verse 108. Nija sama saka sange, gogana charana range, vrindavane swachanda vihara, yanra venu dvani shuni, stavara jangama prani, pulaka kampa ashru vahedara. When Lord Krishna wanders in the forest of Vrindavan with his friends on an equal level, there are innumerable cows grazing. This is another of the Lord's blissful enjoyments. When he plays on his flute, all living entities, including trees, plants, animals, and human beings, tremble and are saturated with jubilation. Tears flow constantly from their eyes. Really amazing. And 109. Muktahara Bakapanti, Indradanu Pinchatati, Pitambara Vijuri Sanchar, Krishna Nava Jaladhara, Jagat Shasya Upara, Varishai Lilamrita Dara. Krishna wears a pearl necklace that appears like a chain of white ducks around his neck. Well, you know, the actual word which is used is baka. Baka, and baka is not really a duck. Baka is a heron, long-legged, with a long beak, like aquatic or semi-aquatic bird. Yeah. The peacock feather in his hair appears like a rainbow, and his yellow garments appear like lightning in the sky. Krishna appears like a newly risen cloud, and the gopis appear like newly grown grains in the field. Constant rains of nectarian pastimes fall upon these newly grown grains, and it seems that the gopis are receiving beams of life from Krishna, exactly as grains receive life from the rains. Hare Krishna. Let me just see. Okay, that'll do for the time being. We'll read some more tomorrow night. So, devotees, we were reading and discussing about Prema Samput, the love locket, the secret of the loving relationship between Srimati Radharani and Krishna. And of course, what is the essence of that secret is that Radha and Krishna are not two, they're one. Yes, they're one. One being in two parts. Yes. Srila Prabhupada, there's one incident, it's recorded, in which Srila Prabhupada, somewhere in America, asks, sitting in a temple giving class, or about to give class, and Srila Prabhupada asks the devotees, the assembled devotees there, what seemed like a sort of strange question, funny question, like the wrong question. Prabhupada asked the devotees, who is God? Can you imagine asking devotees? And, so many hands went up. Krishna! And you know what Prabhupada said? No. Krishna is not God. Prabhupada said, Radha Krishna is God. Yes. Because because they're one. You cannot separate them. They're the Supreme Lord and His eternal pleasure potency, which is the most essential part of Him. But somehow, well, not just somehow, but by Krishna's arrangement, His pleasure potency, that very part of Himself which gives Him pleasure. Well, you know, we have a pleasure potency. We have some capability to experience pleasure, put it that way. Isn't it? We experience pleasure in different ways and at different times. We experience pleasure when we chant, when we have a program like this, we experience pleasure. We experience pleasure if there's some nice kirtan. We experience pleasure if someone says something nice about us. We experience pleasure, generally. If we have some nice prasadam, we experience pleasure. So, and what does that mean? It means that something within us is stimulated by those circumstances, which things which are outside of us. But they stimulate something which is within us, which is part of us, and that's our capacity to experience pleasure. We are little parts and parcels of Krishna, so we have in very small quantities so many, not all exactly, but so many, more than half, of the different qualities of Krishna. If you read the 64 qualities of Krishna, Nectar of Devotion, there are percentages there. I forget what percentage we can have in to a small degree, but it's something, is it 70-something%? I forget exactly. It's something along those lines. Of the qualities of Krishna, we have, or we can have, if we live nicely, to a small degree, that is. So Krishna feels, Krishna thinks, Krishna sees, Krishna hears, and so do we. And Krishna enjoys. Sometimes Krishna is, in a certain sense, upset. And so are we. We share so much with Krishna. So we also share this to a small degree, that each one of us has some capacity to feel pleasure. Right. So Krishna, though, in order to maximize his capacity, his ability to feel pleasure, Krishna takes that his capacity to enjoy, to feel pleasure, and places it outside of him as Srimati Radharani. Doesn't mean, don't think that now Krishna has lost his capacity to feel pleasure. It's gone and now he's just sort of barren in that sense. No, it's not like that. But still, in order to heighten the whole experience that Krishna has in life, which is, the idea at least is to enjoy, to be happy, to experience pleasure. In order to increase that, Krishna places that his personal ability to enjoy separate from himself as a person. And therefore Srimati Radharani, because that's who she is, that's what she is. She knows nothing other than giving Krishna pleasure. Nothing else has any meaning, any relevancy to her. It's just like some foreign and intangible type of entity, because that's just her nature. As Prabhupada said, Prabhupada talking about the nature of a being, or just the nature of a thing. When something has a built-in nature and it's just, fixed in the structure of that, whatever it is, then there's not a lot you can do about it. And therefore, Prabhupada made the point, in India, is probably still, there was a certain type of little machine used by farmers, wheat farmers, rice farmers, farmers of grain, and they have to cut the grains and put it through this machine, and it extracts the actual grain and discards the husk and the things which we aren't used for food. So that little machine is called a dinky. And there's actually a saying, Prabhupada mentioned the saying to illustrate this point about when the nature of something is just fixed, that's what it is, and it'll never be anything else. So the saying is, if a dinky goes to heaven, what will it do? It will thresh wheat, thresh grains. That's what it will do, because that's what it is. It's not going to start dancing or singing or whatever. It's not going to do anything else. Yeah. And of course, an important point in that regard is that we, particularly in our material condition, our material state, our natures are not fixed. At least in many ways, our natures are not fixed. And for example, when we were children, we've all been children, and when we were children, we did certain things, and we desired certain things. But then as we got older, then our interests changed, and we changed. We got bigger and stronger, and our intelligence developed. So we're not like the dinky, which is fixed. Actually, we have a fixed nature within, but that was out of range at that point. Yeah. So through the process of Krishna consciousness, we can change. Anyway, yes, Srimati Radharani, that's her nature. Her nature is, she is Krishna's pleasure potency. Therefore, she doesn't really have other tendencies. Therefore, she cannot fall down like us. And actually, Prabhupada explains, it's in the purport, it mentions, and it's explained in different places, but he mentions in the purport of one famous verse, Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 9, verse 20, which is describing how wonderful Mother Yashoda is, Srila Prabhupada makes the point that she is not a jiva like us. She's part of the internal potency, like Nanda Maharaj, like the main Sakhis, the main Manjaris, and a certain number of the closest circle of Krishna's devotees. They're not jivas. They're part of the internal potency. So they don't have the marginal tendencies that we have. And Mother Yashoda is one of them. She has no marginal tendency. So she cannot fall down. It's just not, the capacity is not there. But don't worry. Well, we should worry, actually. We have the capacity. We certainly do. And therefore, we're here. Yes. So Srimati Radharani, she is in basically the supreme position of an entity other than Krishna himself. I mean, like we said, she's part of Krishna, but she's one of his energies. She's one of his energies. So she's different from like Balaram, who is an expansion of him, his person. Yeah, she is one of his energies. But her nature is, and only is, to give pleasure to Krishna. And there's no conception of anything else. Whereas for us, at least there can be a conception of, by anything else I mean, doing anything other than pleasing Krishna. We have the capacity to do something other than please Krishna. And therefore sometimes, even though we're practicing Krishna consciousness, sometimes some ideas may come into our minds. It's possible that we could do something other than devotional service. Yes, so we have been discussing these things, the Prema Samputa. And yesterday, what did we do? Well, we started, didn't we? This one story, and we'll continue with the story. This very interesting and famous story, which I'm sure you've all heard before, but that's okay. As Prabhupada said, repetition of a good thing is good. So yesterday evening, we explained how in one time, in the cold month, what's it called? The cold month of Magh, January, February, Northern Hemisphere, it's the cold time. Early in the morning, Mangalarti time, Kutila, the very crooked, dull-brained, crooked sister of Abhimanyu and daughter of Jatila, she noticed Srimati Radharani and her closest girlfriends quietly going out of the palace in Yavat. Yes. And, I mentioned last night, well, we can, those of you who haven't been there, you been to Yavat with me, was it? Okay. How many times? Just once? Anyway, you can all come with me. We'll all go as a team. when things sort of settle down, you know what I mean. Yeah. And we'll go to Yavat. It's special. And in Yavat, we mentioned how they have deities. The main deities there, Radha Krishna deities, and I can't remember their names. But they're nice. But then, so you're looking at the main deities straight ahead of you. On your left, just in a little alcove on the side sort of thing, there's another altar. And they're kind of informal deities, a bit rough. But in the center is Jatila. On your left of her is Kutila, and on your right is Abhimanyu. And you look at Abhimanyu, and you can see he looks something like Krishna. He doesn't really look like Krishna, but he looks something like Krishna. He is the same color. And as we mentioned yesterday, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, he is a special incarnation of Krishna's shadow. So therefore he looks like Krishna to some degree. To some degree. All right, anyway, so Kutila, the dull-brained, crooked sister of Abhimanyu, who never wants Krishna to come anywhere near Radharani, because Radharani is the wife of her brother, Abhimanyu. So in this way, she and Jatila and Abhimanyu, they are dedicated to Radharani. It's a very transcendental situation. And normally if someone says to you, I don't want to see Krishna, I don't want Krishna to come anywhere near me, then you think, whoa, maybe a demon or some, really messed up person. And that's what they say. We don't want to see Krishna. And they tell Krishna, you come anywhere near here and we'll call the cops. Something like that. Yeah. So you might think, what are people like this doing in Vrindavan? Taking part in the pastimes. But it's all very transcendental, because they're completely dedicated to Radharani. And in their minds, they have the idea that they have to protect Radharani. So they are, you could say, they are in Radharani consciousness. It's something like that. Yeah. So Kutila saw them leaving the palace and heading down towards the Yamuna. And she stopped them and asked, where are you going? And Radharani, in a very haughty way, what are you asking us for? Said, I have taken a solemn vow that every morning, early morning, in this very sacred month, I will take my sacred early morning bath in the Yamuna for the benefit of my dear husband, Abhimanyu. And when she said that, what happened? All her girlfriends started giggling and sort of and Kutila noticed. And, they weren't really just out front about it, but she could see that it's not like that. It's just not like that. They're making fun of me. But she didn't really get into it. She didn't like confront them, what's so funny? Anything like that. Because, if she'd done that, they would have got on her case in some other way. So she just left them to go. But in her mind, in her heart, she was thinking, something's really wrong here. This sounds like a conspiracy. So she quickly went over to Nandagram, which is not far, by walking, because generally all these places you travel by walking. So it's probably, if you walk fast, and I'm sure she walked really fast, it's an hour's walk, or maybe slightly more, if you really walk fast. So, so she walked over to Nandagram, just, until she bumped into some of the people, moving around outside the village, one elderly man, and she asked, where is Sri Nandanandan this morning? And the gentleman said, oh, dear Sri Nandanandan, what a good boy. He has taken a solemn vow that every morning, early morning, for this whole month, sacred month of Magh, he will take his religious early morning bath in the Yamuna. What a pious boy. Because, those baths, particularly if you take bath in some sacred river or kund or something, they're sacred. It's not just like taking a bath. It's definitely not. So yes, sacred religious bath. And then Kutila understood it is a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. So she headed off to the Yamuna. In those days, the course of the Yamuna was different to what it is now. It really sort of wandered all around through Vraj Mandala in different ways. Now it just sort of goes through the center or something like that. But in those days, even in Nandagram, which is a distance away, even in Govardhan, which is also a distance away, the Yamuna flowed nearby. And you could just walk there. So off she went to the Yamuna. Of course, she didn't really know where to look, but she started sort of on the northern side and went down. And as she's going down, searching and looking and spying and just, trying to catch them out, she started to approach the place where Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna were having pastimes together. Now, fortunately, the gopis had lookouts posted strategically to see if anyone was coming, and then to give the warning, sound the alarm so that Krishna could just get out. So one gopi was on that side as the lookout, and she's looking. And she saw, here comes Kutila. And so she ran into where Radha and Krishna, all the gopis were gathered, but there was one, almost like a hut, not actually a hut exactly, but we call it a kunj. Kunj Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha and Krishna, Radha Madhava, are Bihari, enjoying pastimes in the kunjas. Kunjas mean where the branches of particular trees, it's not every tree, but pilu trees, certain pilu trees, the branches grow over and come down to the ground, and inside there's a room, a small room. That's a kunj. That's a kunj. And you'll notice when we go to Yavat, in the courtyard in the temple is an old pilu tree which has quite a nice kunj. So Radha and Krishna were inside in the kunj, and the branches and leaves and everything come over, and in many cases you can't see unless you open up things. You can't see what's going on inside. So Radha and Krishna were enjoying pastimes together in the kunj, and the other gopis were just gathered around. And then this one gopi, Tulsi, came running in. That, watch out, Kutila is coming. She'll be here in 1 minute. And so Krishna had to quickly come out of the kunj, and Radharani did also, and Krishna had to just sort of disappear, run for it. Yes. So then, sure enough, within a minute or something, Kutila arrived and started really questioning the gopis, and particularly Radharani. So Kutila asked, well, this is an important point. I don't know if we mentioned this one of the other days. Radha and Krishna, they try to meet unnoticed. Yeah. With nobody knowing. We talked about that last night. Their relationship is like a very good chutney. You remember? What was the name of the chutney? Mother-in-law's revenge. It also has another name, I must say. The other name is mother-in-law's tongue. Krishna. Anyway. Yes, so she came in. Kutila came in, and so they try to meet, very secretly, completely secretly. But there are a number of serious problems, and one of those very serious, perhaps most serious problem is that Krishna's body is very, very fragrant. Our bodies get a bit fragrant every now and then if we exert ourselves. But Krishna's body is really sweet and fragrant. And the problem with that is that wherever he has been, the fragrance remains in the air for some time. And you can go to that place maybe 15 minutes later, but you'll smell, Krishna was here. Yes. So Kutila arrived, and she smelt, Krishna was here. But she didn't just, she wasn't just blunt about it. She asked, where is Hari? Where is Hari? And like many Sanskrit words, Hari has multiple meanings. Like many, like even the word Krishna. It just means dark. It can just be used to mean dark. Yeah. So where is Hari? Now another meaning of Hari is lion. Lion. So Kutila asked, where is Hari? And Srimati Radharani answered, oh, there's a lion around. Oh, thank you for warning us. Because we are just helpless, defenseless young girls. Thank you for warning us. You have saved our lives. And Kutila could understand, I'm not going to get anywhere with these girls. Almost caught them, but, a miss is as good as a mile. Yes, so there was nothing she could do. And so she just said, oh, you rascal girls, everybody knows you meet with him and you're just very low class, and off she went. In the meantime, devotees, fasten your seatbelts. Krishna escaped and went around the other way. Kutila came in that way, and Krishna went around back on the same way. And you know what Krishna did? Krishna, our master of disguises, disguised himself as Abhimanyu, the husband of Radharani, the son of Jatila and the brother of Kutila. And exactly the appearance, exactly the dress and hair and whatever else, just totally identical. And waited on the road that she had come in on, and now she's going to go back out on. So Kutila now is starting on the way back to Yavat. And who did she meet but Abhimanyu, Krishna. Krishna disguised as Abhimanyu. In older versions of the Nectar of Devotion, there is a painting of this pastime. Krishna disguised as Abhimanyu. Anyway, okay. So Kutila and Krishna disguised as Abhimanyu, they each said to the other, what are you doing here? And Kutila explained that, they told me this, then at Nandagram they told me that, and I understood there's some conspiracy going on. So I came here to catch that rascal Krishna and your poor wife who Krishna takes advantage of. I came here to catch them, and I almost caught them, but Krishna, it seems, somehow he escaped just before I got there, but I could smell that he'd been there. And Krishna, disguised as Abhimanyu, said, "Well done, sister. Good try. Better luck next time." And Krishna, disguised as Abhimanyu, said, you know what I have heard. This is Krishna disguised as Abhimanyu. You know what I have heard, you won't believe it. I have heard that Krishna has disguised himself as me. But this is Krishna disguised as Abhimanyu. I have heard Krishna has disguised himself as me. And Kutila was just, no, he wouldn't do that. And Krishna, disguised as Abhimanyu, said, yes, that's what I've been told by reliable sources. So, in the meantime, the gopis started just going back because it was all over, for the morning at least. So they all went back to Yavat. So Krishna, disguised as Abhimanyu, said that I have heard that this Krishna, disguised as me, is going to try to enter our palace at the usual time I come home from herding the cows. So what I'm going to do, I am going to race home now, and Radharani will be there, and I am going to personally protect her. I will go into her quarters because, the practice was in those days, and still to some degree is, husband and wife do not stay together. They're in the same house, but they don't share the same particularly bedroom. They have separate quarters. The husband is with the men, the wife is with the other ladies. So Krishna, disguised as Abhimanyu, said, in order to protect her, perform my sacred duty of protection of my wife, I will go into her quarters and make sure this rascal Krishna can't get in. If he tries to get in, I'll beat him up. And he told Kutila that. Anyway, then he and Kutila went back to Yavat. Radharani was there. And Krishna, disguised as Abhimanyu, explained to Jatila the mother, same thing. This rascal, you won't believe it. He has disguised himself as me. It's terrible, isn't it? Yes, it's terrible. So I'm going to go into her quarters, lock the door from the inside, so no one can come in, and I'll protect her. And what you do, because they're cow herding people, they have cows, and wherever there's cows, there's cow dung, plenty of it. He said, what you do, you make cow dung balls, big ones, solid cow dung, and you go up on the roof just over the main entrance. And when this rascal comes and he's just about to open the front door, then you throw the cow dung balls on his head and just smash him. And as you're doing that, just tell him, we know who you are. You can't fool us. You're Krishna. And he will deny it. he will say, no, I'm not. I'm Abhimanyu. And when he says that, then you know he's a rascal and he's a liar. So then you throw more cow dung balls and you just chase him away. And Jatila and Kutila said, that's a great plan. So Krishna, disguised as Abhimanyu, went into Radharani's quarters, and they had transcendental pastimes together. And just shortly thereafter, who should return at the normal time that he would return home in the afternoon, but Abhimanyu. So he just comes up to the front door, he turns the handle, suddenly crash, bang, from like 15 feet or 20 feet up, just smashed to the ground by these big, hefty cow dung balls. He's lying there, looking up. Who did this? It's my mother and sister. And he asked, what are you doing? And they said to him, no, you can't fool us. We know who you are. You're Krishna. And Abhimanyu said, what? I'm not Krishna, I'm Abhimanyu. And Jatila said, we knew you would say that. That proves you're a cheater. And bang, bang, more cow dung balls. And Abhimanyu thought, my poor mother and sister, they've gone mad. They've been possessed by ghosts. I will go quickly to Mathura and bring the exorcist to take the ghosts out of them. So off he went. And Jatila knocked on Radharani's door, of course it's locked from the inside, and said, don't worry, we chased him away. And Krishna, disguised as Abhimanyu, said, well done. And we'll be out, in due course. Hare Krishna. So these things happen. In Vrindavan, some very amazing pastimes. So, yes. And like I said, if you can find an old hard-covered version of Nectar of Devotion, there's a picture of Krishna disguised as Abhimanyu and Jatila and the real Abhimanyu, and the whole thing's going on. And Jatila's chasing away the real Abhimanyu. Hare Krishna. So, devotees, we will continue tomorrow. We will continue tomorrow. Yes. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Krishna Janmastami Mahotsava ki jai. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.